Hello and welcome. Today we are talking about tilt. Now, this is a topic that is very important to VGC because VGC is a game that is almost entirely mental. The only parts of the game that aren't mental are actually clicking the physical buttons on the Switch or, clicking on your moves in Showdown. And while there's a lot of mind games and stuff to think about in the game itself, I would argue that your IRL mental game is just as, if not more important than what you're thinking about in the game. So, everyone knows that they play worse than they're tilted. I don't need to tell you that, but why is that? What's actually happening in our brain when we're emotional? Well, when you get overly emotional, the two parts of your brain stop communicating. Your thinking brain and your feeling brain just stop working together. Your feeling brain completely takes over, and it literally blocks you from being able to process critical thoughts. That's why you just lock in your moves right away without thinking. That's why you don't calculate other lines. That's why you make a play, you lock it in, and you immediately know you've made a mistake. Yeah, it's not great. Normally when you're playing, the flow of how a turn should go is, an initial play will come to your mind. That's your intuitive play, and then you should look for better plays. And if you can't find a better play at the end of, the time that you have to make a decision, then you should just go with, the first play that came to your mind. And being on tilt is really bad because it both decreases the likelihood that your intuitive play is a good one. You play much better on intuition when you're in your right mind and not overly emotional. And it also prevents us from considering those other plays in the first place. So, yeah, not great. But it's important to remember that anger, it's just an emotion, and emotions are not inherently a good or bad thing. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. What really matters is how we react to them. I don't want you to think that getting angry is a bad thing, because you can use your anger and the energy that it provides to channel it into useful things. Like, sometimes it's good to be angry. When you make a mistake, that should frustrate you. If you don't get frustrated at making a mistake, you probably don't care that much. You're probably not invested in the game. You probably don't want to improve that badly. You kind of need some kind of fire inside of you in order to, propel yourself forward and motivate you to play the game. It's just about how we react to these emotions, right? And it's something we all feel. No one is immune. I mean, Magnus Carlsen, the best chess player in the world, punched a table because he miscalculated a sequence at a real-life chess event. So it's important to understand that this is a part of all of us, and we don't want to hate ourselves. This is just something that we have to deal with, something that we have to process. So we want to channel this energy that we get into improving. We want to channel this energy into something productive. So in order to improve, what we first need to understand is what tilts you. Everyone's different. We tilt in different ways for different reasons. You need to understand why you tilt. Because, listen, when it comes to emotional issues, awareness gets you like 50% of the way there. Self-awareness about why you tilt, what happens in your tilt, physiologically what's happening in your body, will get you a large amount of the results that you need in order to fix this problem. So the best time to analyze this tilt is right after it happens. So right when you feel yourself getting tilted, I want you in your practice to write down what happened before you got tilted and what happened in your body. What did you feel? What physical sensations did you get? Did you tilt because you made a mistake? Did you tilt because of bad RNG? Did you miss a move? Did you get crit? Did you tilt because your opponent made a misplay and still won, and that hurt your ego because you felt like you were a better player, so you should have built them. You should have beat them. All of this stuff can tilt you, and it matters. It matters that you recognize what tilts you, because then you can look for it and look for this pattern in the future when it comes up. Then look at what happens for you. Are you a loud tilter? Do you feel energy? Do you feel flustered? Are you a quiet tilter? Do you get quiet? Do you think less? Do you reserve into yourself? There's a lot of like different ways that it could manifest, and a lot of the times you might not even realize that you're tilted. So you know yourself better than I do. Just like write these things down and try to bring awareness to what's happening. So in practice, in order to improve, I feel like a big part of this is having a clear vision, a clear purpose. Ask yourself, what's on the line when you're playing? What is our purpose for playing the game? Because there's a lot that's on the line. It's more than just winning and losing. It's prestige. It's respect from your peers. It's, you know, the hard work that you've put in paying off. It's validation of your ego that you do know what you're doing, that you should be spending your time on this. Maybe you want to make a career out of esports, and, you know, losing means that that's your livelihood on the line. That's a big deal. So, you know, hating to lose makes sense for all of these reasons. And what I want you to do is change your focus. Something that's important is not having a results-oriented mindset, or rather, results in the wrong area. It's less about winning or losing the game in front of you and more about working on what you can control. Because there's a lot of things in the game that we can't control. We can't control how our opponent plays. We can't control the luck. We can't control whether we got crit. So we want to make sure that we're controlling the things that we can, because when things are outside of our control, it upsets us. So make sure that you're measuring the areas you actually want to improve in. How was my pre-turn process? How did I handle team preview? How was my turn 1? Did I make a play on turn 1 that makes sense? I want you to, you know, focus on the things that you can control. So here's how we can start to like map out this process and understand our tilt. So in practice, I want you to queue up some games, write down things that tilt you and what happened physically. And bonus points if you do this with a pen and paper. I don't know what it is about pen and paper, but like physically writing something down, it just kind of scratches something in our brains. And then after that, I want you to reflect on your notes, consider why these things tilted you, what value of yours did they violate, and then from there we can learn to correct our pattern. When you're in practice, it's very useful to have some kind of physical sign to reinforce that you got tilted. Like when you notice something like this happening, stand up, take a deep breath, do something to convince your mind that like something has changed. We want to just bring consciousness, bring awareness to what's happening. And also when you're practicing, before you come back and review these things, if you do really like go off the deep end, just take a break, do something else, get your mind off of the game, and come back when you're ready to process, you know, what happened and try to correct the issues. It's a little bit different if you're in a tournament, though. If you're in a tournament, it's harder because, you know, you paid money to get there, there's money on the line, and you really want to make sure that you can still win when you get tilted. This is an important thing to consider. You're going to get tilted. This isn't something you can just like get rid of. I think it's much more practical to think about what you do when you get tilted versus, you know, oh, I'm just not going to get tilted, because emotions are just a signal. Like when you get crit in a game, you are going to feel upset because, you know, your body is signaling to you that that was some BS. So it's about, you know, taking this information that you get and realizing, oh, my body just told me this was some BS. Okay, now I need to inject my conscious mind and, you know, put a correction for that in there so that I'm not, you know, thinking with my thinking mind, or not thinking with my feeling mind, excuse me. So how does this do? What does this look like? Well, you need some kind of process, some kind of framework for how you decide on a play during a turn. So this framework is going to be 3 steps. Step 1, you're going to ask yourself, where is the pressure? So pressure, you know, where's a knockout being threatened? Is a player threatening to take, you know, a game-leading advantage with a setup move? Anything along those lines, where's the pressure? Number 2, is there a safe play? Do I have a safe play that covers for all the options if I have the pressure, or if my opponent has the pressure, do they have a safe play that can cover for all the options? And then in that case, I need to get myself into a better position, as valuable a play as possible given their optimal play. And then step 3 is, how has my opponent been playing? So say there is no safe play and you do have to make a read, just consciously think through the game and consider your opponent and how they've been playing, if there's any tendencies you can pick up on, and then use that information to try and make a more conscious read. Hello, editor's note here. So I just wanted to mention something that I forgot to talk about before this point, but before we actually go and apply the logical correction of figuring out what play we're going to do in the turn, we want to process our emotion. So what we should do is, you should recognize that the emotion comes up because you've mapped your pattern, you recognize something that tilts you, and then we need to process that emotion. We need to let it out. So we want to do this in a healthy way, right? I would much rather you take a deep breath than punch the table. What I would recommend is doing what's called square breathing, where you take a deep breath in through your nose for 4 counts, hold it for 4 counts, breathe out for 4 counts, and then hold that for 4 counts, making a square. That's why it's called square breathing. So you need to recognize that you're tilted, process that emotion by taking a deep breath, and then go into the logical turn framework for deciding what play we're going to go for. If you get tilted at the end of the round, go outside the venue, get some water, get some food, go to the bathroom, listen to some music, talk to a friend, just do something to reset yourself emotionally. And yeah, that's kind of how you handle being tilted in-game, the process that you go through. Some general advice, general notes on this is, you really just want to find balance in your life. Something you have to understand is, you're not going to be amazing at this the first time you try it. You're not going to be amazing at recognizing your tilt. You're not going to be amazing at applying the corrections in a tournament the first time you do it. It's a long journey, and as cheesy and cliche as it sounds, you do have to fall in love with the journey. These skills take a lot of time to develop. Most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but underestimate what they can do in 10 years. And so I just want you to remember that when you're working on these things, and be patient with yourself. The last thing I want to share with you is a comment made by one of my friends in my local community, in our local Discord server, so shout out Jacob. He said, "I don't like to lose, and my ego tells me that I'm better than some of the people I play against and deserve to win. For me, the key has been turning my anger into curiosity. Watch your replays and question your moves, and try not to let your opponent's moves or mistakes bug you and make you feel like you deserve to win. While it may sound counterintuitive, don't play to win, play to get better. And when you focus on getting better, you can't really get mad at your opponent, it's on you." I just want to insert a small clarification here. When he's saying don't play to win, he doesn't mean don't try to win the game. You want to play to win the game. What he means is, your goal shouldn't be to get a W in the result column. Your goal should be to improve, and if you're playing to improve, the result of winning should come as a byproduct of that. Winning is not the goal, winning is the byproduct of us successfully following our goals of improving. Just wanted to clarify that. Anyways, continuing on with what he said, humans are always trying to protect themselves. They start to blame anything else. In VGC, it becomes easy to blame the matchup or the meta instead of looking at our own play or team building choices. When I'm feeling especially hopeless about a game or match, I reach out to others to get their opinions and try to brainstorm together. So I really like what he said here, because it really just kind of drives home all of these points of, it's not all in your control, but you want to focus on the things that you can control. And we can't control our results, but we can control our approach to the game and our approach to life. And these skills that will help you in learning how to deal with emotion and competition will help you in other areas of your life as well. And that's part of why I think competing is so valuable, is because it teaches us these skills of emotional regulation, of humility, of improving and being better than we were yesterday. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys, and I hope you can improve alongside me, and we can become better Pokemon players and better people together. Thank you for watching.